Good morning. Hey, everybody, it's Sunday. Hi, I'm Charlie. Welcome to the live. All right. I went to a Misfit show last night, so again, a little tired, but we're going to have a good time. So, anyway, this week, more than anything, I really wanted to make this a lot about you guys. I've been going with a lot of big ticket items and questions. We went over this e-com brand builder piece, which I'm going to work on the ebook, and it'll be up on the Patreon by the end of the week, which will be great. By this time next week, it'll be live. Also, I was looking at how to provide more value on the Patreon, so we're going to take all of these lives that we do during the week, and we're going to drop them in there with the full descriptions and links and all sorts of stuff, so you can watch the video, then grab the ebook for it, and all sorts of stuff. Also, remember, we've got a Patreon, we've got a Slack, we've got one-on-one calls, we've got all sorts of stuff we can do for you. Outside of just this, if you want to take advantage of any of that, go for it. And if you do any of the homework from any of the week's lives, then you get any of those things for half off. So definitely should be doing that. This week, just like last week, the homework's going to be really simple. It's all about this brand builder stuff. I want to help everybody get going, right? I want everybody to start winning as much as we can. And this stuff is the bare bones. The last 3 weeks before this, we've been covering things, everything you should do before you spend $1 on a Facebook prospecting ad to start printing money so that you use only your profits to run Facebook prospecting ads, other platforms, other strategies. We'll definitely recap all of that stuff when the ebook comes out. Probably next week will be a full-on recap of that with the ebook, and we'll just give it away. So anyway, one thing I asked this week was anybody. I would love to hear your questions. So let's just get started. I posted stuff in the group about, well, you can't really see it because the whatever, but about seeing questions. So let's just get right to it. Brian Tabarovsky, terrible with names. Anyway, he says, dynamic creative and ad fatigue question. How can I combat ad fatigue when using dynamic creative? If I wanted to add new creatives, I need to create a new dynamic creative which would reset ad engagement, which I don't want to do. I'd rather not use static ads to test creative, as I'd like to test the power of Facebook's algo in dynamic creative. Okay, so Brian's main question here is, just to recap, is hey everybody, oh wow, everybody just popped in. Hi Yulia, Senator James, okay. Yeah, Senator, I know you got some questions. I know you asked questions, so we'll definitely cover those things and we'll make sure we get to them. Welcome everybody. My thing just totally refreshed with like a bunch of people watching. Hello. Anyway, so Brian's question was really built around two things. One, he's using dynamic creative, which is a great way to test creative. And two, combating ad fatigue, which is when you show the ad too often to the same group of people, it becomes less and less effective because they've seen the ad, and then once people see the same ad over and over again, it tends to lose its effectiveness as a sales pitch. Plus, eventually, the other facet of it is that he's building a lot of social proof. So when he wants to make a change, it would lose all the social proof, and so he's in quite the conundrum. Two things for you, Brian. Number one is that dynamic creative, when you want to try new things, I recommend build them around creative concepts. And we've talked a lot about this in creative testing with CBO and a bunch of other things, but creative concepts. Pool your creatives around specific ideas. So, for the dog food example, right, where the puppy's around here somewhere, my girl's just leaving, so he's distracted. So your dynamic creative could be 3 or 4 versions of creative around one idea. Now, when you want to test a new idea, you can just launch a new dynamic creative. all of these dynamic creatives, if you're using them for prospecting and for creative testing, can go against a lookalike audience and they can compete with each other. You don't really need to worry about audience overlap because your budgets are probably too small. So the first thing I want to say is when you want to test a new creative concept and when you want to test a new creative idea inside using dynamic creative, you can use the exact same campaign. Hi, Julia. You can use the exact same campaign, but make a new ad set targeting the same audience, as long as it's a prospecting audience of hundreds of thousands or millions of people, and put the new dynamic creative into there. Theoretically, you should be testing 3 or 4 of these at any given time, and if one of them takes off, you start spending and build a campaign around it. That's the Bucket Based CBO, which we've covered in depth here, but as in earlier lives. But mainly, if you want to add a new creative to a dynamic creative campaign, your best bet, make a new ad set, load in several ideas for the new dynamic creative, and run it side by side the old one. This will, one, allow you to test new creative without affecting the social proof and resetting ad engagements. Because if you edit any ad, it will reset the engagements. And 2, it will help you avoid ad fatigue, because instead of having just one creative combination going out to your target audience, you can have 2 or 3. This will, 1, reduce the saturation of that ad inside of that market so it fatigues slower. And 2, as you're cycling to see whichever one the next one is, as something hits an element where ad fatigue becomes an issue, if it's an issue for you, it will cycle out and something else will have already been in there taking its place, because you're slightly nudging budgets or spend limits between creative concepts inside that target market. So what that can ultimately look like is there's a dynamic creative campaign for prospecting. You've got a lookalike 1% ad set with, below that, a dynamic creative with 3 or 4 creatives in it. You like it. It's working well. You want to test something new. You make a new lookalike 1% ad set, and then you load in another dynamic creative concept there. Do that 2 or 3 times. Those all compete for the dollars inside of CBO. And you set spend limit minimums and maximums to make sure that each one is getting a certain amount of spend every day, so you're testing this creative actively. And then you just nudge the spend limit minimums and maximums between them all and for performance purposes. So basically, just day-to-day optimization will take care of the problem they were really dealing with. And as a result, you won't have the issue of needing to swap out creative, affecting your ad engagement, and you won't have the issue of creative fatigue, because when it hits you, you've already got something that's performing better. Yeah, so anyway, hopefully that's really helpful. And I hear you here saying, I'd rather not use static ads and test creative. I think you're really smart and to try to do that, really taking advantage of the platform. I think there's a lot of value in trying to use all the tools at hand. So mazel tov to you for that. I definitely recommend it. And if you guys aren't using dynamic creative, I think it's definitely something to take a look at. Dynamic creative, by the way, for y'all that don't know, is something where you can load up multiple pieces of creative. So you can load up multiple pictures, multiple sets of copy, multiple sets of headlines, and all of that up into one thing, and it'll jumble it all up and try to spit out the best versions. But it all happens inside of one ad set, inside of one ad, really. So what it's doing is it's doing all the possible combinations, and then you can look at the reporting and see what is the best possible combination version of that ad concept. Now, in a perfect world, you would do that and then take the best performing ones and drop those into another campaign that you would scale up. That's one way of doing dynamic creative testing and just scaling ads. That kind of goes against the Bucket Based CBO concept, but all of this is about trying to find the best fit for you and for your brand and for your budget and for your creative concepts and for everything. Because there's no golden, there's no silver bullet, right? And anybody that tells you this is the best way of doing it, you got to do it this way, is full of shit, and their way's probably wrong. Anyway, getting to the next one. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Ooh, look at that. Yeah. All right. This one's from Tony, good old friend Tony. Tony says, my retargeting is not getting the results I would like. Can you give an overview of the most effective way to get my retargeting ads in front of people at least 3 times? Okay. So it looks like Tony, with a great product from Australia here, is dealing with an issue of he doesn't feel like he's getting enough daily frequency with his campaigns. So for his retargeting, and for many people's retargeting, we talk about this. We talk about this a bit, and there's an ebook on it as well. So please take a look at that. But you need to make a customer journey, and you need to make sure that your exclusions are in place. You need to, best practices. So how do we set that up? And this is definitely one of the pieces that's in the ecom brand builder best practices docs. So anyway, one of the best ways to make sure, hi Robin, one of the best ways to make sure that your retargeting is hitting people with a high frequency is to set up multiple stages of retargeting. And so this can look like, oh, hi Joshua. This can look like a 1 day. This is one reason we use a 1 day and a 7 day, and even sometimes a 14-day retargeting window. Because when somebody's in a 1 day, that audience pool is very small. But they're also the most likely to respond because of recency. So one of the things that we've talked about here, I use it on you all the time, is trying to push for a daily unique reach on your 1 day campaign. And so hopefully what this is doing is it's making sure that everybody that has abandoned cart in the last 24 hours sees at least one ad. Now, Tony's question was, how do we make sure they see it at least 3 times? Well, sometimes you can have competing campaigns if the offers are different. So if you've got a $20 offer and a $50 offer and a few other things that could possibly work, what you could do is have a add to cart 1 day for your $20 offer, an add to cart 1 day for your $50 offer, and an add to cart 1 day for a dynamic ad, a DPA, all of them using daily unique reach to make sure that in the first day somebody's seeing an impression from each of those campaigns. Now, afterwards, there's a 7-day window where Facebook is going to try to find the people most likely to convert in the next week using a 1 day post-click. Always use 1 day post-click as your optimization window. Or 1 day post-click with a 1 day view. I use that because it gives you a bit more data. But that's because you have if I have a larger budget, it helps. So anyway, when you use the 7 day, excluding the 1, people go from the first bucket where they're smashed by those first 3 campaigns into the second bucket where over the next week, you're showing them whenever they're online. The likelihood of somebody making it from the 1 day to the 7 day, or even a 14 day, using daily unique reach right away, and then conversion objective on a 1 day post click afterwards, the likelihood of somebody not seeing the ad at least twice, 3, 4, 5 times over that week is extraordinarily low. The only people that won't see it are the people that Facebook deems aren't likely to convert. Now, you can get around that. You can get around that if that's not good enough for you with using daily unique reach on these longer windows. And this is something we've tested here in this group, and it's been effective. It doesn't work for everybody, but if you've got a low price offer, if you've got something that's really easy, that's something, and by that I mean like less than 20, less than 30. There's that, like, I don't even care about this money, so let me buy it. And Tony, I know your products. You've got something that's really in that sweet spot. If you were to use a daily unique reach campaign with a low budget, where you're really optimizing to try to get the lowest CPM to make sure that you are in people's feeds for a week, anybody that shows an intent to purchase, it'll be impossible for them to get onto Facebook or Instagram and not see at least one of your ads every single day. That will dramatically increase the frequency that each user is seeing your goods, your ads. Also, when you're looking at ads, when you're looking at anything, I see this a lot. I want to stress that we should look at breakdown by day. A lot of times people say, well, I'm getting a frequency of like 8 or 9 or 12 and it's not working. The honest truth is that is not real. What you're doing is looking at the aggregate average frequency over time, which means over a week or a month, this person might see the ad 8 to 12 times. Inside of the Facebook platform, in the top right, there's like reports, then breakdown, and then something else. When you hit that breakdown, there's you're gonna have a couple options. One of them is by time, and then one of them is by day. And the reason you want to look at by day is, one, if you're doing a Scrum Doc, that's how you pull in your reporting, so that you can definitely take a look at results every single day across all your platforms. Two, breakdown by day also shows frequency by day. And you'll really be able to see what the optimal frequency by day is for all of your retargeting campaigns. Now, one of the things I'll stress is what you'll find, especially when optimizing retargeting campaigns, so that you can get better results, is that each retargeting window or each retargeting ad set will probably have an optimal daily frequency. More than spend or window time, it's a daily frequency that works really well for an audience. And the way you can find this is looking back over the last month or the last couple of weeks. Look at the days where the performance was above goal. Say your goal is a 2x, okay? And maybe 8 out of 14 days you were well above a 2x, and it was phenomenal. I would say then look at the daily frequency and see what the frequency was on those days. Now, it might not move a lot. It might be 1.7 on one day and 2.2 on another, which doesn't feel like a big change, but I'm willing to bet, especially on shorter windows, like a 1 day, that the higher frequency gave you a better ROAS. When you're looking at the higher frequency on the better ROAS, you're knowing, okay, I know that if I spend more money against this audience, I'm going to convert somebody. Now, to the other side of it, thanks, Rob. To the other side of it, when you're on a 7-day or a 14-day, and you say, oh, my ROAS was great, what did that look like? Odds are your frequency is actually going to be lower. You're actually spending less into that audience. And why does that work? It's because when you're trying to convert somebody after 7 days, you've already spent money on them for days. They might have already decided to not buy, and you're still trying to pester them to get a purchase. This is really inefficient. I tend to find in my own, efforts over the last few years, right, that the trend has been basically the same. For 1 day retargeting audiences, the optimal frequency is about 2.5 to 3. I generally can't spend, Facebook will stop delivering. Once my frequency gets over a 3, sometimes a 4 if I'm at add to cart 1 day and I'm just throwing a shit ton of money at it and it's working. I can get my frequency higher. The 1 day audiences tend to not work with a frequency less than 2. Unless you're using daily unique reach, in which case your whole point is just getting as many people as eligible as possible to see it. And a combined effort between daily unique reach and conversion objectives. Again, where you maybe have your DPA ad or on conversion and your lowest price offer on a daily unique reach. So the person's seeing a carousel and they're seeing, well, this is the thing. So here's a whole bunch of offers. Here's all the best sellers. And then here's the easiest way to get in. That combination of sales pitches tends to work really well. And that's something you'll see in all the stores. Any store you go into, what's at the end of the aisle on every store? It's all the best sellers. It's all the things they're trying to promote. what's the thing in next to the register when you're trying to check out? It's the shit that costs no money. You need to think of your buying experience in the same way. That's called an end cap on your aisle. That's what's being shown inside the TPA. And then when they're on their way to check out is all the lowest price impulse buy type stuff. And if they're already in your store, you want to try to get their money before they leave. What's right by the door in every store when you're trying to walk out? It's low price shit, highly on sale all the time. Every store you go into, almost all the time, the shit right up front is either the lowest cost or the best selling. So yeah, people do battle for the end caps because they're the best things, and that's what's in your DPA. So anyway, in my experience, a frequency less than 2 on a 1-day window doesn't work. And it's because you're not getting enough saturation into that really interested target audience. A frequency less than or over 2 on a 7-day window generally doesn't work out. And it's because those people tend to have already made their buying decision. So some people get on Facebook. Some people aren't on Facebook every day, right? Some people aren't on Instagram every day. Some people check in and maybe just other advertisers got their attention. So you do want the option of being in their feed because maybe it takes repetition or they weren't exposed. But in general, trying to make sure that your average person sees several ads from you every single day after they've already in the first 24, 48 hours decided that they're not going to buy yet tends to be a waste of money. This is why we break it up on 1 day and 7 day and 14 day with add to carts and view contents, because there's different customer journeys. Somebody that abandoned cart 1 day, you want to push every fucking dollar possible against that person. It's a very different user than somebody that was just on your site 10 days ago or in the last 14 days. Because the amount of time it'll take you to spend on this add to cart 1 day to 7 to 14, the website, last 30 days retargeting, you're spending money on them every single day. By the time they get over here, you're basically just trying. The lead gets colder and colder and colder. You're just basically at that point desperate, just trying to close the deal. Which is also a reason why over time you want that average order value to be higher. So another thing here, Tony, is your retargeting isn't getting the results that you like. Start with that super low offer. I think you've got something that's like 15. Start with that. By the time you get out this 14-day or even a 30-day retargeting, it's got to be a big bundle, because obviously the low cost didn't convert somebody. So over time, you have to go from low cost to high value. And that's because if you spend 20, 30 over like a week or two to try to convert somebody, and then they eventually buy something for 15, you lost money converting them. Maybe that one ad on the last day you spent 50 cents and you converted them. But 50 cents after $20, you lose $5 if all they're buying is 15. So over time, you have to increase the value. And this is something that goes very much against almost everything that I see people do, where they say, oh, well, if that doesn't work, then slash the price and offer this and all that stuff. I mean, that's true in the first 72 hours. Like, if they don't buy the first day, then show them the low price offer, then maybe offer free shipping or buy 2 get 1 free or something. But after that, you got to start ramping up the cost. This way, sorry. So that it's this way. There we go. For the camera. You got to start ramping up your cost, the average order value. So by the time you actually convert that person, even if it's at a break even or close to it, you pay for all the advertising cost to get somebody to even give a shit about you. Because the honest truth is, if that website traffic from 30-day gets a 2x, it's because you lost money on everything before you got there. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Retargeting is on Facebook is something that you should have in place, and that you should really map out before you start prospecting on Facebook, to be honest. And to recap, if you want to really make sure that you can retarget the best, possible way, and maybe, you know, I'll write this down some more, but add to carts and site traffic. Break those up. Add to carts and view content. And view content is a product page. So somebody that added a product to the page and somebody that looked at a product. Those two audiences out of one day. Start there. And if you have multiple offers or you've got a lot of products, launch them in separate campaigns. Not too many. I think 3 is probably your max. Because then they start to compete with each other. It's a whole fucking mess. If you've got a low price offer, run that on a daily unique reach so that you're letting everybody buy the lowest cost thing right away. You're saying, hey, look, this is the best deal. And the other stuff, run on a conversion objective so that people don't want the best deal. They want better value for their dollar or pound or whatever. You're giving them that choice. And then you break it out from 1 day to 7, and then maybe even a 14. And look at your daily unique frequency. Your 1 day should be above a 2. Everything past that should be less than a 2, almost all the time. In my experience, from $50,000 a day brands to $200 a day brands. That generally is a golden rule. Yeah, so there you go. Hopefully that helps. Let's get to something else. All right. Let's see. Oh, we got a question from Vika. Wait. Let's see if we can restart this. Here we go.
Darling question for you. So everyone knows that you cannot prospect on any page channels like Facebook, the CBD product. But I'm going to be using influencer who will send at least 5K people to the website. Can I retarget?
That was Vika, who's got some great brands. So, to recap, what she's saying is she's working with some brands, and she's working with CBD products and some other things, and she knows that she can't prospect with those because of the terms and conditions of Facebook. And she's using a lot of influencers to try to drive. Don't worry, Rob, I'll get you. Okay, cool. You can ask her right here too, man, if you want. And she's using influencers to try to drive traffic, which is a great way of driving traffic, and letting your influencers create content for you so that you don't have to create content. Because really, influencers at this point, what you're paying for is them to create content for you, and hopefully they sell enough product that you don't have to pay them, that you break even. If you pay an influencer $500, hopefully they make $500 in sales, and they give you a piece of content that you can spend $5,000 on. That's a win. Do that 5 times a week, and you're golden. So her question was retargeting with CBD, or in this case, anything that really violates Facebook's terms and conditions, but let's go with CBD to start with. So this has been a tough nut to crack, and a ton of people have been asking me how to make CBD stuff, and I've worked with some of you guys on your CBD stores until they get banned, and then we work on them again. But the number one strategy that we've used is the walled garden approach. I'm going to use some coasters here. Visual aids. These are some coasters that I got in Alabama. Anyway, visual aids. So let's see what we got. Let's see if we can do this better. This will work fine. Okay, so Sundays, right? This is your CBD. Okay, so this is your violating Facebook terms and conditions, but you're driving people to this CBD product. You've got a whole page for CBD products, and everybody's trying to get the reefer and some non-reefer form, and you're just trying to sell it to them. All right, great. First off, fully support you. Great business model. Wild fucking West. Print money. On board. So the question is, you get a shit ton of clicks with this product. How do you use Facebook to retarget these individuals, knowing that you're not allowed to advertise CBD products on Facebook? This is a little complicated, but I'm going to try to go slow, and I've explained it a bunch of times, so hopefully we can get there together. So this is your website selling CBD product. You've got a pixel on this website. It's picking up all of your clicks. You've got a store on this website that the Facebook pixel is seeing add to carts, initiate checkouts, and purchases. It's collecting data. You can't advertise, but you can collect data. You can understand your customer. You can build up audiences and pools and customer journeys, and Facebook pixel can learn who's buying from you. But you can't retarget with this. But what you can do is set up a second store. Now, bear with me. Your second store in another URL with a separate Facebook pixel, with a completely, with its own ad account and everything, because this isn't a business manager. This is a completely separate thing. There's a big wall division, right? So there's a big Charlie in the middle. Oh. So this one is chocolate cones. This one's ice cream sundaes, okay? So this separate site is compliant. This separate site doesn't say hemp, doesn't say CBD. You've got products on this site. Maybe it's, CBD gold and CBD green and CBD red or fire or mountain or some shit, right? You've got your product names, okay? So this site has your product names that aren't just straight up reefer in a can, okay? So you've got your product names. This site lists all of the products by the product name. Now, maybe you run into an issue where your packaging straight up says reefer in a can, which is the example we're going with, because hopefully none of you have that product. And if you do have that product, I fucking highly support you. Reefer in a can. This one doesn't show the exact same packaging, or you don't need, or it's zoomed out in a way, but basically the product image on this site is a simplified or doctored version of this one, but it's just slightly different. So when you land on it, you can see that it's the exact same thing as here, but it doesn't read to Facebook as something that's bad. Now, how do you make a compliant website? Facebook says that if somebody can reach something that's not compliant within 3 clicks, that your site isn't compliant. Click number 1 is your ad, which means if they can navigate from the ad to any non-compliant site within 3 clicks, you're in trouble. Now, you can try to use a bunch of deep links and all sorts of other stuff to mess with it. But no matter what, this is always a bad rabbit hole to try to gain. So you make 2 sites. This site's totally clean. This site's dirty as fuck. Now, what happens? This site, you're going to share the audiences and pixel data from this page over to here. You're going to take your add to cart one day, your view contents, everything that you're building in your retargeting audiences, and you're going to share it to this page. In this page, you run your bundles, you run your DPA, you run everything. But you run it from something that's compliant. So this page has a shit ton of clicks and everybody's loving it. And you're creating all the intent. People are recognizing what you're selling. They're showing them, they're doing everything that they can do to get there. This is the salesman that closes the deal, right? So what this is doing, this is your walled garden. This is doing all the work for all your influencers. This is letting Facebook and Google close the deal. Because Google, you're using your branded search. You have your brand name, which you may or may not be able to do. Maybe your brand name is reefer in a can, and so maybe you can't. But if you've got products and all of your product names, this site can handle branded search campaigns. Because your branded search, the name of your product, green, yellow, mountain, dragon, fire, whatever, isn't in and of itself violating the terms. None of the products listed with the product details violate the terms because you've rewritten the descriptions to make sure they're compliant. This is getting all of the clicks. This is closing all your deals. 2 pages, 2 discrete websites, different URLs. Go as high as you possibly can. Literally 2 different websites. Like this one can be Shopify and this one can be fucking Wix. Okay? 2 different websites. This one generates all your traffic, gets all your pixel data, all your retargeting audiences, everything, shares to this one. This one closes the deal. You run Facebook ads, you run Google ads, you run everything you can to this guy. Now, our friend Julia over at Tapjoy probably won't let you run this ad, but that's okay. You know, we have this, and we have our 6-prong approach to the e-com brand builder, and maybe you can't use one of them. You're still 5 steps ahead of anybody else trying to use Facebook ads to prospect because you're smarter than that, and you know how to make money. So anyway, that's the walled garden approach, Vika. Love you. Thank you very much. I know you're on trip right now, so really enjoy it. But I'll see you next week. And definitely any ebook you want is yours. Absolutely. Vika and I work closely on several brands. So it's really great to see stuff from her. She's a beautiful and very smart woman. Okay. We got a couple other questions here. Let's just keep rolling. I'm loving this. But does that all make sense, by the way? Check out in the comments section over here, or I guess it's here or over there, depending on your replay, about the walled garden approach. If any of you have it, I'd love to work with you on it. The last time I did a walled garden approach was about 6 months ago, and I'd love to help some more people get it up and running. Let's do a one-on-one. If you want to do the walled garden approach, one-on-ones, we can do it for half off, and I'll just walk you through it. And let's make it happen. That's a personal project of mine that I really love, and I just want to get like 2 or 3 people just printing money with it. And it's a way that you can break the terms and conditions of all your platforms and still make a shit ton of money. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, Robert. Oh, hi, Brendan. Okay, Robert asked, how do you choose the optimization event for creative testing when you don't have enough budget to test for the terminating event? Furthermore, do you carry over creative learnings across platforms, e.g. iOS and Android? Okay, so what Rob is saying is you have a store trying to optimize to purchases, right? You're trying to sell shit. Congratulations, you've made it to the right Facebook group. Or you've got, an app and you're trying to sell downloads. Congratulations, you made it to the right group. Or you're trying to get leads. Oh yeah, you made it to the right group. But you don't have the budget to optimize to get 50 of those conversions every week. Now, for keeping everything at a high level, let's call it purchases. I know Rob has got apps and a bunch of other things because we talk. He's got a great thing for a lot of good stuff. So, Rob, what I would say is, you can always optimize for higher funnel events. So instead of optimizing for purchases, optimize for add to carts. Maybe your conversion rate is 1 out of 20 add to carts leads to a purchase. So if your purchase costs $100, your add to cart should cost you $5. Maybe over the course of the week, 50 times 100 is far too much fucking money to spend, but 50 times 5 isn't. Or 50 times 1, right? Like depending on whatever the ratio is. But the point is, look for a higher funnel event. Initiate a purchase, right, is the bottom line. Above that is your purchase, is a payment ad. Above that, initiate checkout. Above that, add to cart. Above that, view content. Above that, site traffic. Above that, engage. Above that, video view. Don't optimize towards that one. Anyway, the point is, for creative testing, in your situation, what I have done plenty of times is optimize for an add to cart. Optimize to see or search trials. Optimize to see what is the thing that happens before the thing that I want. So if you're trying to make a purchase, it's optimizing for add to carts or view contents, even if you need to get a lot of stuff. Because if you can send somebody down the buying journey, if you can start the customer journey towards a conversion, you can expect that things that are better at getting somebody started are probably things that are good at getting somebody to finish. If one thing turns people away, then it's never going to make a sale. If something's super efficient at getting people in the door, it's probably a decent way of maybe getting a purchase. Now, it's not the best method. The best method is obviously dumping a shit ton of money at purchase events, but we don't all have a shit ton of money to just throw into that. So if you don't have the budget to test an ad set that's going to get you 25, 50 purchases a week, go the step above that. So if it's a purchase thing, try add to carts or view contents. If it's app installs, maybe you're just looking for optimizing for link clicks. And so maybe like you have to find what is the event that happens before. And the number one way of finding that is what's your best retargeting audience. So in this case, what is it the thing that you retarget the most to try to get to the conversion? Optimize to that thing. One that will get you closer to the conversion event, so your learnings on your testing is more relevant. Also, because you're ramping up your number one retargeting audience, you're not really hurting your ad account by testing. Yes, it's not as optimal. It's not as optimal, but if you ramp up a bunch of add to carts, then your add to cart retargeting audience, while it will lose efficiency because you got to bottom line traffic, you're gonna be able to spend more in it. So maybe you can shift your budget. And I've done this plenty where you've got prospecting that's working great, but you want to try to test new creative. Instead of prospecting towards a purchase, you prospect towards an add to cart and go from, say, for the purpose of this conversation, 500 a day on that to like 200 a day. So you're losing 300 a day in spend, but you're getting a shit ton more add to carts. Well, your add to cart goes from like a 2x down to like 1.5, but you can double your spend. So what happens is you're losing overall volume, but you're letting your retargeting pick up some of the slack. So you lose a lot less. I know that's kind of some tough math, but the idea here is you want some direct, you said it exactly right in the comment section. Now I'm seeing it because it's updating. Directionality. Get them closest to the conversion event as possible, and that's a lot better than nothing at all. I did this a lot with Nissan, where we never even tried to get a Facebook ad to sell a car. That was not the purpose of a Facebook ad. It was funny, we did a test in Nissan versus Infiniti, because they're both the same brand, where we tried to have one brand sell the car. The other brand got a test drive. What's a test drive? Test drive is basically an add to cart. It's basically a view content. It's putting an ass in a seat with somebody ready to pull out the credit card to make a purchase. So instead of trying to optimize Facebook pixels and offline events as getting a purchase on a Facebook ad, which, I mean, is a fucking nightmare of logistics, but we did it. And it taught me a lot. We were spending like $50,000 a day trying to sell cars. What we did instead was try to run lead gen campaigns to get test drives, because it's a lot cheaper to get somebody to take a test drive. It was a couple bucks. So we used the Facebook ad to drive that, and then based on whichever one was most likely for people to have test drives, this one's obviously creating more intent. Those ended up being the print and video ads that came out a month and a half later. So we did exactly this thing in a use case, full top to bottom funnel for a brand that we were spending a couple million a month. But I've also seen that work for brands that spend $1,000 a month. So, and I've done it myself. So anyway, directionality will definitely help you there. All right, next question. Mateo asks, how do you evaluate? Oh, wait, we had one above that. Yulia says, what is the difference between two stores and pages? One more time, please. So Yulia is going back to our walled garden approach of CBD products and trying to sell it on Facebook. The difference is you got a landing page that's built around your brand that is ridiculously not compliant. It says reefer in a box all over the page, right? It's got Snoop Dogg smoking weed on the front page saying, hey, let me sell you some reefer. This page is nothing other than a product page store. It can be all deep links for all I give a shit. It's not really meant for anything other than each page of the compliant site is product images and descriptions which pass the terms and conditions. And the point of this page is you take all of your retargeting data from this page and you send it here. You let this one be where you run your Facebook ads and your Google ads and your Bing and your Yahoo, whatever the fuck else you're running. They all go to the compliant site. So this one is yellow oil and, you know, mountain smoke or something. This one is reefer in a can. They're the same brand, same everything. But this one will pass the terms and conditions. This one is where you use all your influencers and everything and where you collect all of your data. Yeah, so that's the difference. Because the walled garden is 100% compliant. This one is 100% not compliant. And the only way you can get around these two being tied together, separate business manager accounts, separate ad accounts, separate URLs. The only tie between these two is that this ad account shares its audiences with this ad account. But you never once spend $1 here, so it never goes into review. This one only ever spends dollars on a site that is 100% compliant. This will work for months or years before you ever get a crackdown, 90% of the time. And if it doesn't, come to me and we'll figure something else out. Great. So, all right, next question. Hopefully that helps you, Leah. Oh, this is fun. I'm loving this. This is going to be a long one. I love it. I remember we used to do like 2-hour live feeds every week. You know, maybe I need to get back to that. Where we had the longer live feeds, and then I did like a little like write-up of all the things we tested. And we'll get there. I think we're at a spot where we can ramp this thing up a little bit. So let's do that. Not this week because it's all mailbags, but whatever. Well, we'll get into it. I got a plan. Mateo asked, how do you evaluate? By the way, before we get into this, we're like 45 minutes in. I just want to say thank you to everybody watching right now. If you're seeing a lot of stuff that you like about this, please invite a friend to the group. If you want more information, go to the Patreon or check out a Slack, or we can do a one-on-one phone call where we can set things up. Most one-on-one phone calls tend to be me working with a brand and building a Scrum doc for them while they're asking me a bunch of questions. So basically, I'm building a multi-channel tracking document and showing them how to do it and breaking through everything while defining business objectives. And that generally runs like about an hour and a half or 2 hours. And during that time, we're also talking about, they're just picking my brain about every fucking question they possibly can. That is phenomenally valuable to almost every brand that I've done it with. And to be honest, I'm wildly underselling my time as far as the money is concerned. But just about everybody's been able to pay for that within like 2 weeks of doing it. The profit margin pays clearly for any of the time, and it makes me really happy. That solving your problems helps me solve problems at a much higher level because I'm spending $30,000, $50,000 a day, and I get so far out of the weeds that it's really, really helpful to see all these problems at different levels. Because getting immersion into everybody's business helps me solve your problems. Robin says, I miss the old place, the black leather couch and the amps. Robin, here's some of the amplifiers. It's just a matter of where the window is. And I got that brown leather couch. We can go out. I got it. We'll try to do the next live by that couch. Still have it. This is just, I moved. But there's still guitars here everywhere. I'm not trying to be too big, Lee. All right. So anyway, love you guys. I just felt like I had to say that stuff. And if there's anything else I can do for provide more value or to make this more worthwhile, if there's some reason why those things don't seem appealing to you or like they're not worth your money or your time, let me know. Because I'm really interested in doing that stuff. I've been going to more and more of these guru sales things where they're charging like $300, $400, $500 a month for shit that we talked about 9 months ago. It's a waste of fucking money. So let me know what I can do to make this something that you trust. Anyway, moving on to more questions. Mateo asks in the live feed, hopefully you're still around, Mateo. How do you evaluate 2 different prospecting campaigns, 2 cold audiences, if most of the conversions are tracked by retargeting ads? For now, I evaluate smaller events like webinar view costs, but it's difficult to understand what cold audience campaign is more profitable at the end. Great question, Mateo. So this is an absolutely phenomenal argument for reporting on 2 different attribution windows. So I always say optimize and report on a 1-day post-click. Get as close as you possibly fucking can. Now, Mateo's question says, well, if I know my prospecting campaigns are really driving people into retargeting audiences and retargeting audiences are getting the bulk of my spend, how do I know which prospecting campaign drives more people that are higher qualified? This is where inside of your comparing windows and when you're setting your columns over here, right, because it's reports, breakdown, columns, at the bottom, do 1-day post-click, but also click in there to like a 28-day view. And what this is going to let you do, or 28-day click, whatever, probably the 28-day click. What this will let you do is this will let you evaluate the impact of that campaign further down in the funnel. Not only do you want to look at volume, how many things happen, but you also want to look at efficiency. Which one drove things at a cheaper rate? Now, while I'm a big proponent that anything past 1-day post-click is a lie, because you're taking credit for everybody else's work, Mateo here specifically is asking which one makes other people's work better, which is a great fucking question. That's some high-level shit. I love it. That's C-level fucking question. That is a man that understands his funnel. I fucking highly appreciate it. So the best way to evaluate this is to look at longer attribution windows. See what happened after a week, what happened after a month. Which one of those things was more efficient in driving people through the process? The second way of doing it, now that's the easiest way that you can find the answer in like a minute. If you want a more accurate depiction, that's like 5% more accurate, within 80% confidence, so it's a kind of a wash. But you want some really granular detail. The other way of looking at this is to attach UTMs to each one. And then inside of Google Analytics or Facebook attribution, see which customer journey was more likely to lead to a sale. Now, the honest truth is, I got him. The honest truth is, hey, Kia, hi, nice to see you. Completely missed you. Is that is way more complex, and it's really tough to map out. And there's really no value add in the data that you're getting over the other one. So, while UTMs and Google Analytics can get you there, the simplest answer to find out at a glance what is better, so that you can even do day-to-day optimizations and week-to-week. And if you build a Scrum doc and you're looking at performance over weeks and over months, what sales pitch is getting somebody to convert better? The number one way is look at 1-day post-click and other attribution windows. And you can click there's like 7 little buttons, default, and then the 6 options. So look at those 2 side by side. And I'm willing to bet that one concept is definitely more effective than another. And we start them at the same time with roughly the same spend. You're going to see that one of them is going to be more efficient. Now, odds are the one that drives the better results one day post-click is the one that did better long-term, but not always. 80-20 rule. 20% of the time, you're going to do better on the thing that was less efficient at first, but maybe that's something that this sales pitch really made somebody think about it, and then they came back and the retargeting just cleaned up because of it. So it was a less efficient first touch, but it drove a shit ton of efficiency in retargeting. The only way you're going to know that is by looking at those longer windows. So hopefully that helps on that question. And I really love the way that you're thinking about solving that problem because it is 100% a business decision they need to figure out. So I would look at it that way. And I would look at, I do the breakdown by day. If you've got a month or 2 or 3 months worth of data, do it by day, 28-day breakout, and look at it that way. And I would even export it, try to make like a pivot table in Excel if you're going to be that advanced about it. And really see what's the 1-day click, what's the 7-day, and what's the 28-day. And the efficiencies of the click towards the of the cost of the initial click, and then the closing, whatever that conversion is. And the reason you're measuring the click is because you know that you're trying to find the attribution of somebody engaging on that first ad to them converting at the end. And the only way that you can really do that is off the click. The view, far less actionable. But yeah, so hopefully that helps. Who's next? All right, Craig. Craig says, hi, Charlie. Oh, I think this is one of the questions in here, but we'll answer it here instead. Hi, Charlie. My CBOs has gone to shit. I'm using the same lookalike audience and separating the percentage increments, but not getting great results compared to general targeting. Not using CBO. I hear people saying, don't worry about overlap with CBOs and duplicating winning lookalikes. But when I look at delivery insights, overlap seems to be an issue when I run multiple different lookalike audiences. Hence why I've been splitting the same audience. Okay, Craig. So I love that you're trying to use CBO. And if I understand the question correctly, you're saying that you're breaking it out by 1%, 2%, 3%, and you're running all of these next to each other, and you're breaking out those percentages so they don't compete with each other. Totally best practice. Great. And you're having an issue where the CBO campaigns are going to shit. They're basically just not stable, which is you are one of every other person on Facebook dealing with this problem. So I love it. Let's get into it. By the way, side note, I am about to do a big test with Facebook where they're going to match me dollar for dollar for a buck ton of money to try their best practice, which is what you're doing, versus our best practice, which we've been talking about since like October, November, of the Bucket Based CBO strategy. And we're going to fucking kill them. It's going to be great. So let me drink this coffee and then we'll answer your question. By the way, this is my girls' Pilates company. They play punk rock and stretch people and work out. Who needs Enya when you're sweating when you got the Misfits, right? Hey, anyway, we're 2 peas in a pod. So your CBO thing, what I want to say is let me talk to you about a different way of building out your CBO campaigns. So best practice for CBO in our way of doing it, what's called Bucket Based CBO. And even above that, so Bucket Based CBO. What we're going to do here is you're going to run up your creatives and organize them by concept, right? So you got donut pillow creative, you got ice cream sundae creative, and you got coffee cup creative. I don't know what the fuck product you're going to sell with those creatives, but anyway, that's besides the point. And I think we've used examples too with dog food where one's like the dog running through a field and then one's a product shot and then one's the dog eating the food. Anyway, different sales pitches. You're going to run all of them against a lookalike 1%. And I would use the same lookalike 1% for all 3 of them because that's your standard, right? So that way you're not running into any issue of different audiences. They're all being measured against the same yardstick. It also should be your best performing audience. So the lookalike 1% is going to be a lookalike 1% of buyers from the last 180 days. Maybe also a lookalike, a value-based lookalike from your pixel, which is great. And then also, if you're selling a specific product, lookalike 1% of the buyers of that specific product. So if it's a $20 item, it's a lookalike of every purchaser from the last 6 months. It's a value-based lookalike off of your entire store, and then a lookalike of buyers of that one specific product. So you have 3 lookalikes. You put them on top of each other. So every ad set is just those 3 lookalikes as your audience, and you're going to exclude your retargeting, right, and previous purchasers. So you're going to exclude your mid and bottom funnel audiences. So it's just cold prospecting, because you want to see how this thing does against with the best quality prospecting audience with no help and no overlap over your retargeting. Does that make sense? Right off the bat, 3 lookalikes. Your 3 lookalike campaigns or 3 lookalike audiences, all purchasers last 180 days, value-based against your store, and lookalikes of the specific product that you're selling. Those 3 should give you an audience of a very large audience. In the United States, that'll probably be between 3.5 and 5 million people. So you'll be able to spend till the fucking cows come home. That audience will be able to handle a spend of several $1,000s a day minimum. So you're not going to have to worry about audience overlap, because audience overlap is only really a problem in prospecting when you're spending so much that you begin to pay a premium on CPMs. So functionally, that right there will allow you to test your creatives against the same yardstick, and that's also an explanation of why you don't need to worry about the audience overlap, right? Now, already we are wildly off the beaten path of what Facebook says is best practice. And they're wrong. And, Ezra and Tim and Nick and all these people will be pitching you this strategy Q1 of next year. After my case study comes out, and then they bring it to the disruptor group, and then that's taught to the reps, and then those reps go to the other gurus that teach you things that their reps tell you, so that you're like, oh man, I got it in, and they're going to charge you $500 a month to learn this strategy. Anyway, sorry, I just got a real fucking big problem with those people. I digress. Anyway, okay, so UK 1% is 400,000, which is great. Hey, 400,000 is a solid number. Don't worry about it. You're going to be able to spend $1,000 a day easy against that audience without a problem, because it's one audience is 400,000. The other audience, your total sum is going to be close to 1 million people. Now, probably between 650 and 1 million people, in my experience running campaigns in the UK with those 3 target audiences. Okay, so anyway, now what we're going to do is you're going to set up spend minimums and maximums for each of these cells of your split test, of your test. What we're doing, we're creating a split test manually, and we're not using Facebook's tool. We're just creating one. You're going to set minimums and maximums. Your minimum is there to make sure that each cell gets a spend every day, right? So that Facebook CBO doesn't favor one over the other. Facebook CBO itself, by the way, is optimized to find you the most opportunity. So it looks for the largest audiences so that it can spend the most against them, because it wants a really stable result. You want the best result. Often the best result, given things, isn't necessarily the most stable. You're willing to have a little bit of volatility. You'd rather have a little bit of volatility if it's better than the most stable result. If you could guarantee losing 20 cents on the dollar every day, that's what CBO is looking for. Whereas I'm saying, let's make between 10 cents and 50 cents on the dollar every day. Wildly volatile, but it's better than the end result. It's better than the most stable result. And that's the problem between CBO running by itself and what we're doing. So you're spending minimum every day. It'll favor volume over CPA every day. That's what CBO is doing. But it is smart in that it can find opportunities for you. So you set a spend minimum to force each cell to get a spend. And then you set a spend maximum. Now your spend maximum, in my experience and all my testing, says the spend maximum should be 50% more than your spend minimum. So if your spend minimum is $10, your spend maximum should be 15, or pounds for you in England. So it should be 10 and then 15. Now, for the purpose of this conversation, let's say you've got 5 creative ideas that you're testing. That means you have 5 ad sets using the 3 lookalikes of all purchasers, value-based, and the buyers of the specific product that you're selling, excluding all your retargeting audiences. So whatever your retargeting bucket, so it's only people in prospecting. It is cold prospecting against your highest quality audiences. So you have 5 cells. The minimum spend is 50. The maximum spend is 15. What you do then is you set your campaign budget level to 20% over the sum of your minimums. So if you have 5 at $10, your campaign budget will be 20% more than that. So 5 at 10 is a $50 total budget. So your campaign budget, 20% more than that, is $60. And what this is doing is you're saying, hey, Facebook, I want you to spend a minimum here everywhere to test it. And then you're letting CBO find, oh, well, I find more opportunity here. I found efficiency here. You're letting Facebook spend a few dollars the way that it sees fit to find you the best result. Now, what this is going to do for you is you're going to be able to look at ad sets and see, well, Facebook keeps favoring this ad set or this creative. And what that's telling you is that creative is more desired by Facebook, meaning that the engagement level might be higher on it, or the CPMs might be better on it, or the CPCs might be better. For whatever reason, Facebook finds more efficiency with this idea. What you'll also be able to do is measure all of the creatives against a certain spend level. So say you're looking at it and you're saying, well, after 10 or 15 times my target CPA, I know that this is going to work or not. So let's say it's a $20 CPA. It's going to take a while at $10 a day. But anyway, when your ad set spends 20 or 10 times your target CPA, so when your ad set spends $20 or $200, right? Then you're going to know, is this worthwhile for me to move forward with? Now, mind you, that is far less than 50 conversions a week. So Facebook's not really going to be able to optimize to it, but that's okay. You're just doing creative testing. What happens is if one of those creatives takes off and does really well, you can incrementally increase the budget. You take your previous maximum and you make it your minimum. So say after 3 days, one of those is like a 1-2 every single day. Take its minimum from 10 and your maximum 15 and make the new minimum 15 and the maximum, I guess, 22.50, and increase your campaign budget accordingly, 20% over the sum of the minimums. If one of those concepts fails, turn it off. Your campaign budget in a CBO campaign is a reflection of the total budget of the total minimums of your active ad sets. And when you turn an ad set off, remove the spend limits. So that way, the only thing that's counting towards that is active ad sets. You're going to run into huge problems otherwise. Facebook, even though an ad set is turned off, it'll count it towards your total spend, and then you'll get errors on spend levels, and it's a fucking nightmare. When you turn an ad set off, set the spend limits to 0. What this will let you do is you're basically giving Facebook the option of spending this much money. And if it finds an opportunity, you're going to do it. You're going to let it spend more. So you're treating it the same way you would with an ad set budget. However, you are, instead of using an ad set budget in a non-CBO campaign, you're giving it a range. So you're saying you have between X and Y dollars to spend, and then you increase or decrease that range depending on performance. Craig's asked, is this bidding? No, this is budget level. So it's minimum and maximum budget. That's in the setup of an ad set. It's kind of hidden. Facebook doesn't really talk about it. None of their automated rules affect it. And their engineering team doesn't really have any real big plans in the next 6 months to build out the functionality of it. Because Facebook doesn't think it's the proper way of doing things because they're wrong. Because engineers built this, not media buyers. So the people building the technology don't have enough case studies to say what the best practice for using it is. So it's only engineers that look at the big picture and millions of data points and say, well, clearly our way is going to be best. As an advertiser, yes, Facebook is smarter than you. Facebook's smarter than me. But if you give it a range in which to learn, then you're going to be able to use it to get the best result. Now, the honest truth is, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, is if you let CBO go by itself, it will, at the end of the day, get a better result. But it might take 3 to 6 months of data for it to understand what the best audience is. When you put constraints on it, you're going to know in 3 to 5 days. And if you're running a business, then 3 to 5 days is a lot better for you. So hopefully that helps. And it's the minimums that are really doing it for you. All right, a couple questions about that. Love it. This is what we're talking about. This is why we do this thing. That's why I want to make this week all about you guys, so that we can make this as incredibly as fucking useful as possible. Okay. Let's see. Mateo says this is high level. I'll see what I can replay and try it out. Absolutely great. Craig says yes. So no overlap. There will be no overlap. You don't want any overlap between prospecting and retargeting, but the prospecting can absolutely overlap each other. You want them to compete. You want to put all those salesmen in a room and see which one closes the best. You want them to compete. Absolutely. Without the competition, then it's not really a good test. You want them to fight to the bitter end. It's fucking Thunderdome, man. And you only spend the money on the one that walks out alive. That's it. Let's see. So yeah, targeting is half the price for the leads against lookalikes. Okay. The UK, United Kingdom is about 400K, and we talked about that. Don't worry about it. Robin says CBO will favor volume over CPA. It absolutely will. That's what it's built for, knowing that it's going to get a shit ton of data on volume, and that's what it's optimizing for, right? The engineers that built the tool want to say, we know that if we get enough data, then we're going to be able to provide the most stable result. Well, how do you get data? High volume. How do you get high volume? Is you spend more money where you can get those impressions for cheaper, which means that CBO is going to work and trying to show the ad that Facebook likes the most to as many people as possible, which in no way maps to you getting the best goal for business objectives. And that's where my big thing is, and the honest truth is, my Facebook reps that I meet with every week are completely on our side, thinking that our way of doing it is going to massively outperform Facebook's way. And we're starting like basically a new brand from scratch, brand new pixel, brand new page, brand new products, brand new creative. It's a fucking infancy shootout. And we're going to fucking crush them. I guarantee it, or I will sit here and, I don't know, be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll let you know that everything I've been saying in all of our testing was proven wrong. And I have full confidence we're not going to deal with that conversation. But if we do, I'll let you know. Anyway, let's see what else. Craig asks, is this for bidding? No, this isn't bidding. I use AutoBid. I wouldn't even worry about anything else. Do AutoBid, auto placement, remove the only variable, the only level of control that you're giving it is breaking up your creatives and then setting spend minimums and maximums. That's it. You're saying, here's your money, kid. Here's the salesman. That's it. and then you throw everything into a room and you see what the fuck comes out alive. Bids can fuck things up because maybe one thing gets lucky before another thing gets lucky, or placements might fuck up because maybe this creative works better for this placement. Don't worry about any of that shit. Set it all to auto. Let Facebook do all the thinking. All you're doing is setting thresholds. That's it. Austin says, can you repeat that part about pausing versus deleting? I don't know that I said it. So in creative testing, in the Bucket Based CBO system with the spend limits and everything that we've been talking about, when you pause a ad set, you get rid of the spend limits. So when you're setting up spend limits, you can hit a button that says remove spend limits. So the spend limits aren't zero. The things are not even filled out. They're empty. And that way, when a CBO campaign is deciding what to spend the money on, when you begin to add in spend limits, it will tally the minimum of the spend limits, and your total budget has to be over that, whatever. So when you turn off an ad set, remove the spend limit so that Facebook is only looking at the dollar pools of the active ad sets. And that way it understands where to spend the money, because you only want it to spend money on ad sets that are active. Not that it'll spend money on things that are inactive, but it'll squirrel that money away and not try to spend it. So that's kind of a problem. Yeah. All right, what's the next one? Craig says, I need to spend $5K a day. Craig, honestly, $5K a day on Facebook, that's a great goal. I'm totally on board with it. I want to make sure that you're also using the other tools that we talked about, because I feel like $5K a day on Facebook, if you're using just Facebook, isn't going to be the most effective way of spending that money. Make sure that you're using branded search. Make sure that you're using, chat bots if you can. Make sure that you're using Instagram growth tools. Make sure that you're using Tapjoy. Make sure that you're using, you want Facebook to provide scale on top of a system that's already working. And I think that if you're spending $5K a day, I would probably at max be spending $2.5K of that on Facebook prospecting max. The rest of it should all be retargeting and other platforms. And you probably get much better results. Anyway, I don't know what your thing is. Message me directly if you want to go more into that, and we can definitely have a one-on-one about it, or I can tell you some things, and you can definitely look back at all these previous lives to understand brand building the way that I'm talking about it. And this is how I'm bringing brands from 0 to 50K, 60K, 100K a month in spend or revenue. Basically, if you've got the inventory, this system will get you to $500,000 to $1 million or pound company in 12 months. So it's absolutely scalable. It's absolutely stable. It's absolutely repeatable. I've done it time and time again, and I've got a couple case studies right now where I'm putting my own dollars up, where I'm basically splitting half the dollar with the advertiser. We're going to build it this way, and we're going to print money. I put up half the money, we split up half the revenue, and we're going to prove this over and over again with group members so that you all can see it. And we're going to document the case studies. We're going to do everything. So let's do that. Anyway, not trying to sell things, but just saying, if you're spending that much money, I think we can make it. I want to make sure that you're doing the best possible thing. Anyway. Moving forward, Austin says, fuck yeah, Austin. Yeah, okay. Craig says, cool, stick it with them. Craig also asks, what do you think about a duplicated lookalike ad set? If performing makes no sense to be, but people go on and on about it like it's gold. Okay, so when people are duplicating lookalike ad sets, and they're saying, oh, performance looks great. It does on that one ad set. It might even on that one campaign because their structure's shit. What I can say is when you create a new ad set, Facebook will take the data and try to find the lowest hanging fruit for that ad set. Right? Facebook always wants to find, whenever you launch a new campaign or a new ad set, it's probably going to always start off with really good results and then it dies off. And we talked about this before about the life cycle of a CBO campaign, is that it looks great initially and it kind of dips and then it hits some stability. And this is because Facebook just like, well, this is a brand new thing. We know the 5 people that we want to convert with it. Let's go after those 5 people and then see what happens. When you duplicate an ad set, what you're really doing is you're saying, here's an ad set that works. We're going to duplicate it. This duplicate is stealing from the old one. So it's cherry picking just the best conversions it knows that this one's going to do. And what happens when this goes over and over again is, oh, well, we launched a new one and the old one kind of died out, but I just keep duplicating it and it works really great. Well, that's a system where you're just cherry picking, which means that the ad sets don't get to really learn. There's no long-term stability. You're just doing a lot of work to have lower volume. Because the honest truth is, if your big business objective, if your time on Facebook is spent duplicating lookalike ad sets to try to repeat results, then you're in a really shitty business place, because your time should be spent doing creative testing and mapping out your customer journey. You want prospecting to basically just be creative testing that you know is coming in at the end of the day at like a break even, or maybe you're winning or losing 20 cents. But it's a constant because you're working on your retargeting journeys and you're working on your creative so that you can improve business as a whole. What I can say is that solution does work, but it only works at a very micro level. When you look at your account performance in whole, and you can see this when you build a Scrum doc, is you duplicate that thing, all you're doing is you're saying you're making one ad set look bad, so another one looks worse, but the overall net effect of your Facebook account at the end of the day doesn't really change. And you spend a shit ton of time and effort patting yourself on the back to have vanity metrics that don't have a business-tied goal to it. There's no improvement. You're just cycling through wins while also cycling through losses. It's spinning your wheels. It's a whole bunch of fucking chasing your tail, and it's a waste of time and money. So, not trying to explain that to a bunch of people, and the honest truth is, people in a lot of groups and a lot of gurus and a lot of people push that, and it's because it makes people feel good right away because their performance tracking is shit. If you don't have a Scrum doc, if you're not doing stuff along these lines, you're not really seeing what's happening with your company, with your objectives. You're just looking, well, this campaign did good today, and this campaign did bad today, my Facebook's wherever. It is a very surface level. It's a very entry level way of looking at it. And that is an optimization that makes a media buyer feel good, but a business owner doesn't see any effect. And if you're the business owner and the media buyer, you want to be spending your time doing things that are going to create a big benefit for your entire company, for everything. People do it all the time. That is an obsolete question, is the best way I would put it. That is a pre-CBO trying to game the system. That was a great strategy 45 years ago. That was bleeding edge then. That then got tested by people and began to get taught 3 years ago. And then got picked up by mid and lower level users 2 years ago. That have then put all their own success and making it big public. So now it's really popular last year. And now everybody coming in saying, well, what was the big thing that's working for everybody? It's the really old strategy. At this point, the Bucket Based CBO makes that entire conversation obsolete. It's like trying to build the best telegraph. Like, I don't give a fuck. I got texting on my phone. Fuck you and your telegraph machine. That's the way I look at that. Anyway, next question. We got a lot of stuff. I love this. This is great. All right, Austin says, maybe we should do this once a month. Should we do this once a month? Let me know. Whatever. Also, we're hitting an hour and 20 minutes. Oh, my coffee. I'm out of coffee. Anyway, let's keep going. Austin says, if I want to test 100 to 200 images for a campaign, what is the best way to do this type of test to let the most accurate statistical data, wow, okay, not let the algorithm disproportionately favor based on delivery? Okay. Austin is saying, first off, he's got a problem of abundance. He's got hundreds of creative or dozens of creative. How does he test them in a way that he can get statistical significance across each creative? This is an amazing example of how to use the Bucket Based CBO system. And I love your problem, Austin. It's phenomenal. So let's say for the simplicity of math, let's take an average of 100 and 200. Let's say you've got 150 pieces of creative. First off, mazel tov to you. Second, let's take these creative and break them down into concepts. So not 150 different things. Let's group them by anything that we can, any similarities in groups of 3 to 5. For the purposes of making this thing simple, let's say they're in groups of 3. I find that roughly 3 is also an optimal level of creative per ad set and testing, but I digress. Anyway, so you got your 150 creative broken down into 50 groups of 3s. And then let's take a look at these groups and try to classify them, try to group those groups together. So you're saying, okay, well, we've gotten all of these 3 really look alike, and these 3 look alike, okay. And now we've got 50 groups, and these 20 are all kind of the same iterations on the same idea, and these 15 are something else, and these 15 are something else. So they basically found families of creative that are all organized in groups of 3. Does that make sense? Are you tracking with me so far? So you've broken down your 150 random pieces that would currently be set up on this big horizontal line, just 150 units, right? Now you're breaking them into 50 groups of 3. Then we're taking that groups of 3 or breaking that down into styles or families of concepts. So now maybe you've got 3 to 5 groups. Let's keep it simple again. Let's say you've got 5 groups of 10 batches of 3, right? So now you've broken down your 150 into 5. Now you run your Bucket Based CBO campaign where you're running those 5 concepts. And when one concept wins, great. If one concept loses, load up the next one. You've got, when you start off with 5, you've got 9 backups for each of those concepts. So basically, trying to put this out, you've got 5 overall themes. Each theme has a family of 10 groups of 3 creative that look and feel alike, right? So you've taken your 150, you've broken them down into 50 groups that are very similar. You've taken those 50 groups and you've divided them into 10, you've grouped them into 10 piles that all kind of are all built around the same thing, right? They have something in common. Then you're testing that 10, or so you have 5 piles of 10 ideas. Then you're testing those 5 at one time. When one fails, after a week or after 2 weeks, whatever speed and budget you have, when one of those doesn't take off, you kill it, you launch the next one. So that means right now, without doing any further creative, say you could test within 5 days, something's working or not. Say every week. At that level, right now, you would have the next 10 weeks of creative ready to go. Now, maybe you can ramp that up or ramp them down. Maybe you can test 10 things at a time. That's fine. So you're running 2 of each, but that's the way to group them so that you can make this something that's not just testing 150 ideas. You're really testing 5 ideas, and each idea has multiple versions of that idea. And each version of that idea has 3 executions. Doing it that way, I will be fucking stunned if you don't find 2 or 3 winners that you can scale out. Remember what happens. You do it that way, you test those. If something wins, you increase that minimum and that maximum so that you increase the budget. If it continues to win, I would then take that lookalike 1% that you're running it against and duplicate that ad set and run it against broad. right? So just everybody. And so then you're running a lookalike 1% and a broad. If it continues to win and you can scale up and it's handling more spend, I would take all of your other testing, duplicate it into a new campaign, start a new testing, because you now have a bucket-based CBO campaign built around lookalike and broad, and then you just start running interest groups and other lookalikes against it. You try to scale horizontally against that creative that you know you can spend more on, that's stable, that's projectable, that's winning. And then your whole goal is to find as many things that you can spend against the lookalike 1% and the broad and any related interest group. At a higher level, some interest groups are going to work for it, some interest groups won't. Or some lookalikes work for it, some lookalikes won't. When you go back to your creative team and you're trying to design more creative, what you want to do is say, here's all of the targeting that failed. Build me creative that will solve for that gap. And that way, you're using creative testing. You're using creative testing to define business objectives, which is just how you fucking scale the shit out of stuff. And so Austin says, so out of those 50, you only run 5 of the ad sets at a time. It's based on your budget. But yeah, I would try to, you want to be able to spend enough that you're going to learn quickly. Now, if you can afford, theoretically, you want to know within a week. If you launch it on Monday, by Friday, you know whether it's good or bad. And then, go dark over the weekend and try it again the next week. Just keep pounding away at it. And I only say go dark on the weekend because if you launch on a Monday and then by Friday you know it's good and bad, at the same time you're also kind of ramping up your budget, it's just a cadence. It makes it easy to work. This isn't necessarily optimal in a perfect world, but you don't want to work on a Saturday if you don't have to. So fuck it. You're increasing your spend on what's working and you're killing off the things that lose. Your overall spend, your overall business objective of performance is being met. But yeah, so however many you can afford to do that with. Now, maybe you can afford to do that with 20, in which case, mazel tov. Do 20, and you learn faster. It's just a matter of how much can you spend so that you're getting a statistically significant amount of data by the end of the week. Launch your test on Monday. By Friday, you're turning shit off or turning up budgets. That cadence is really, really easy in a shared workplace. That basically Monday morning, you're launching new creative tests and you're telling the creative team what worked and what didn't. Or if you're doing this all yourself, you know, but that way you have this like routine. And then whenever you're testing things, you're launching all your tests on the same day of the week and you're ending all your tests on the same day of the week. Because the honest truth is, if you launch a test on a Friday, the first 5 days is going to be very different than if you launch that test on a Monday. Because inventory costs and user behavior on a weekend is very different than on a Tuesday afternoon versus a Sunday morning. So you want that regularity so that you can compare all of your tests against each other. Yeah. So there you go. More questions. Man, we are just plowing through shit and we still got some more to go. Ryan asks, can you cover your messenger bot strategy? So Ryan's referring to, I went to the Shopify event with Nick Shackelford and Commentary Collective, and they were pitching how to do giveaways to get email addresses to create sales. Solid strategy. They ran it last year. Big case study. They're pushing out as the best way to do things. My question to them was, have you tried using this messenger bot strategy? Also, 1 second, I'll get back to you. So my messenger bot strategy was, say you have a sale coming up. It's April, and you're trying to make a sale for Father's Day. How do you ramp up to get yourself creative to run to scale on Father's Day? In April, instead of doing a single giveaway where people land on a landing page and type in their email address so that you can try to sell them on something, so that come Father's Day, you have a giant retargeting pool to push out, which makes sense, but it's wildly antiquated and honestly shit strategy. Instead of that, take your one post in April, your influencer post is what their example was. Use your influencer creative and say, hey, comment below. So you do your giveaway and say, hey, comment below to enter in the giveaway. You attach a messenger chat bot to it with the functionality, the growth tool of comment to opt in. Every Facebook chat function has it, whether it's ManyChat, ChatKit, ChatFuel, any of them, they all have it. So that way, instead of trying to use your Facebook ad to get clicks to a website to give somebody to give you their information so that you can then sell them something in 2 months, which is wildly inefficient and super high cost, you're saying have a Facebook video or whatever from the influencer saying comment below for it, and you run that as an engagement campaign. So instead of trying to run a conversion campaign where it maybe costs you $1 or $2 to get each entry, you're running an engagement campaign where it costs you a nickel to a dime tops. You're paying pennies for an entry. Because what happens is when they comment, the chat bot then reaches out saying, hey, thank you for your interest in this thing. Is this your email address? Or is this the email address you'd like to use? And it auto-populates because as soon as they opt in the first time, they've given you their information because Facebook has it. And you ask them, hey, is this the correct email address? And if they confirm, great. And if it isn't, then they type and give you the correct email address because maybe the one they signed up on Facebook with isn't the one where they want us to receive emails. But basically, you're spending pennies to get an entry into your chatbot when your chatbot closes the deal instead of a landing page so somebody can hit, oh, very interested, right? Like they see the ad and then they comment, hey, me. And then the chatbot reaches out saying, hey, thanks for their interest. Is this something you're interested in? Yes. Great. Is this the email address? No, it's this email address. And the whole thing is done in like a minute for pennies. And if people don't want it, fuck them. You know, you're going to have people that aren't interested. But then you can export that list of hundreds or thousands of emails that you collected for basically fucking nothing and run sales on that. Now, instead of going that distance, the next step of the strategy was to offer the sale. Just saying like, hey, look, and you're interested in this giveaway of this thing. And the giveaway might be, hey, everybody, give us your email and buy this thing and we'll put you up for, you know, a whatever. Or in this case, what you can do is say, hey, thank you for entry. Here's your free $10 gift card. I got a gift card, $10, $20, whatever it is, which means you're incentivizing people to make a purchase from you. And what you can say is, hey, if you use this gift card and post a picture, if you use this gift card, please post a picture and we'll, you know, send you another gift card or some other thing, right? You're incentivizing it. So the strategy there is basically, or you can say, if you make a purchase, here's the thing, if you make a purchase, we'll give you a gift card. Anyway, the idea is people will buy from that ad and then they send in pictures of them using the product. Now their product, I think, was like a wallet made out of baseball gloves or something. But what you're doing is basically saying, here's a giveaway. We're going to give away this big, huge prize, right? Like you get to meet so-and-so celebrity or something. Comment below to enter in the giveaway, and everybody that comments gets a special deal. Okay, I've commented below. I'm interested in the thing. I'm entering the raffle. Oh, look, I got a special deal. And if I take the deal, they're going to give me a gift card. All I have to do is send in a picture. Great. Now, you get thousands of people entering for pennies at a time. You get dozens of people actually purchasing the product. And then they send, of those dozens and dozens of, say it's 5,000 people enter, 1,000 people actually make a purchase, and 100 of those people send in a picture. You now have Austin's problem of 100 pieces of user-generated content that when Father's Day comes around, you can use in your Father's Day campaign, but you're not retargeting the people from the giveaway from 2 months ago. You've already sold them. So the entire endeavor is already profitable before you run your Father's Day campaign. So you're making money from day one because an engagement campaign is fucking dirt cheap. And if you make a couple sales, it's going to cover all the costs for everything. You get a fucking ass ton of email addresses to remarket however the fuck you feel like. You're incentivizing people to purchase from you, so you're making profit the entire time. You give them a gift card if they give you user-generated content, so they're providing you content for the opportunity of getting a gift card so they can make a second purchase from you. And then you have a pool of user-generated content to run as your creative for your Father's Day campaign that's happening in 2 months. So you're not trying to retarget people that were interested 2 months ago. You've already sold them. They've already might buy from you twice, and they're paying you money for the opportunity of providing you content so that they can pay you money again. And you use that as your advertising campaign. Anyway, they liked it, and then somebody offered me like a job on the thing, kind of jokingly, but whatever. And then that was the strategy. And they said, "Oh, well, no, we haven't. That sounds good." I posted the video of it. It's fucking hilarious. Waleed asks, we got a couple more questions here. Oh wait, getting back to Austin here. What benchmarks do you go by for minimum statistical significance? 30 to 100 clicks each creative? Question mark. Honestly, Austin, if you're doing this thing, if say for this example, we're using purchases, right? If purchases is our target conversion event, I would go by ROAS by day. In my world, when I'm using this, I'll often do ROAS by day. If one ad set, if one creative iteration is getting me a profit margin every day, or if after a week it nets to, you're going to have some that give you a 0.3 and then some that give you a 1. Turn off the 0.3s. Because at the end of the day, your creative testing still goes to the bottom line of your company. So anything that can make a sale right out of the gate and continues to make sales right out of the gate and continues to make sales and is profitable as you spend more money on it, those are the ones you want to use. All the other testing is absolutely valuable. It's great to know which one's giving you a lower CPC and which one's got conversion rates and all that shit. But none of it really fucking matters if it's not making you money. So do the ones that are, if you've got that level of volume, if something is losing you 50 cents on the dollar, if your ROAS is less than 5 after 3 days, fucking kill it. If it's less than 1 after a week, kill it. If you've got things that are profitable, because I guarantee that volume against those audiences, you're going to have things that are making sales that are profitable day one, guaranteed. You want to find the ones that are profitable more or less every day. So if after a week, after 2 weeks, you're netting it like a 1.1 ROAS on this creative, then that's the one you run with. And whatever that is for whatever objective you have, whether I see now it's for a lead gen campaign. Whatever one brings you the results above goal, run with. The ones that don't, turn off. You've got 50 fucking lottery tickets to scratch. If you're not making money on one, fuck it. Move on to the next one. It's going to take you a month and a half to get through all that creative. Find wins today, scale the wins today, and then retroactively try to see what do the wins have in common. If it doesn't win, fuck it. Move on. Also, when you run out, the ones that were close, or maybe in those batches of 3, one of them did well, but 2 of them didn't, find all those winners and test those as groups. You're going to probably be able to, pick up the trash and recycle your top performing creative of your losers for another 5 or 10 concepts. Just fucking cycle that thing. If you've got 150 pieces of content and you burn through it in less than 2 months, then you're not taking full advantage of it. I would say you don't need any more creative. Run that. Obviously, it'd be great to have it, and there's, all sorts of optimal, wish lists, but it's not necessary. You've got plenty of fucking work. And then anything that works there in prospecting, that scales well in prospecting, throw it as your retargeting creative. Push it down the funnel, scale till the fucking cows come home. You're in a great place. Okay. Waleed asks, I think we got 3 more questions, unless anybody else is on here. Waleed asks, what do you think of YouTube ads and YouTube influencers? I think YouTube influencers are probably your best influencers to go after. Why? 3 reasons. Number 1, they make video content. Video content is preferred by all the platforms, right? So if you pay a YouTube influencer to make an ad for you, you can use that video creative everywhere. And if you own that video creative, not only can you use it everywhere, but point 2, you can chop it up and make a million edits of it, right? So not only did they give you a piece of your best performing, of the best type of creative, but it's not just one. If somebody gives you a picture, hey, you got a picture. They give you a minute long or 2 minute long video, you can probably chop up a dozen or more pieces of content. Memeify it, put in different things, throw in products, try it against different offers. You can run that shit all fucking day. You can make 150 pieces of content out of a 2-minute video. Easy. You just need a good video editor. There's no reason you can't do it. Chop it up 5 different ways, format it differently, however the fuck you want. You can also run it to multiple offers, right? So it's running to the $20, running to the $50, running to the $100, running to this thing. If you make 20 versions of it and you run it to 3 different offers, that's 60 pieces of creative. And then maybe you throw in, a burned in subtitle on it. Now that's 120 pieces of creative. Maybe you memeify it so it's got some funny thing, you put your branding on it. Now it's 240 pieces of creative. It ramps up really fucking quick. Maybe you run it from your page and from their page. Now you've got 500 pieces off of a 2-minute video. The other reason number 3 that I love YouTube influencers is because YouTube is an older platform. People that are really good at YouTube are not like Instagram influencers that are flash in the pan. If they have, if they have been successful on YouTube, it means they're good business for you. Waleed also asked, what's the best way to get lots of creative? Waleed, you answered your own question, and we've definitely handled a lot of it here. So I'm going to count that as a twofer. We got 2 birds stoned at once. Awesome. Last question. Holy shit, we're an hour and 46 minutes into it. If you're still here, by the way, please, thank you very much. Remember that if you do any of the homework from any of the week's live feeds, you get half off the Patreon or half off a one-on-one or half off the Slack channel. Any of those things. Please, if you're also enjoying it, invite a friend. Invite 1 friend. Invite 2 friends. Or share your group in here. Everything we can to get more people into the group, more value to it. Everything goes through me. This isn't a fucking, I've got no courses to sell. There's no bullshit here. It's just me trying to help people out because helping you helps me. And we're defining the best practice that you're going to be paying gurus for in 6 months or 9 months. We're defining them here. And I can point to 3 or 4 things over the last 2 years that we've talked about. Well, in this group, the first batches of things that we talked about right when this group started are the things I'm now seeing sold. Between Power 5 and CBO and a bunch of stuff that we were on the bleeding edge with is now being introduced by people for $500 a month. And we've got live feeds here, hours and hours and hours of content for free. It's better. Last question. Holy shit, we're at the end game here. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it. Last question. Now this is from Sarah. Sarah says, did the 3-day trial with the Russian tool, but only gained 2 IG followers. Guessing I'm not using it correctly, but encourages using a proxy for best results. Has that proven true for you? And is there any way to break it down further for the newbiest of noobs right here? Trying to get my e-com ecosystem in place and then fun emojis. Okay, Sarah, this is a great place to end. And I'll try to tag you in the solutions for all these things. I don't know that I'm going to be able to timestamp them all, but what she's talking about is a tool, Instalex, that we've gone over a few times. So she did a 3-day trial and only gained 2 followers. So I don't know how she set it up, but let's recap the best way of using this tool. Now, one of the things that I didn't talk about in those lives, but since then I've been explaining this stuff to people. Oh shit! I just started my own live because I thought I got a comment, but it was something else. Okay. When you're using this live tool, when you're using the growth tool, you're trying to attract people to your page. So the number one thing is, before you use the growth tools, make sure you have recent content. Recent content that speaks to the people that you want to gain. So, remember what we've done. Step one is we've gone into Google. We've typed in our brand and our products. We see who all are the top results. So we can identify who are the biggest competitors that we have. Who are the people spending a shit ton of money to build an audience and to sell people? Great. Now we've defined our competitive landscape. Now, that's one way of doing it. Also, for instance, I use it for my band, which is how I found this thing 4 years ago, where if I'm playing a music festival, I'll type in all the other bands on the festival because those are my competitors. Those are my, compatriots, whatever. So anyway, you've identified those people, right? So you understand who are the people that I want to get. Next step is making sure that you have content that if somebody sees that on your page, they're going to like you, right? So if it's the dog food, Morrison's dog food, and he's over there somewhere now. Hi, pup. I don't know where you're at. I heard you. Pitter-patter little feet. And then, okay, anyway. If it's Morrison's dog food, I'm going to put pictures up of cute dogs and dog food. And I'm going to make sure that my brand is current. I'm going to use hashtags to make sure that each post is getting a lot of likes and, comments and stuff. So then you use the Inselects tool where you type in all of your competitors because theoretically they have large audiences. And you want to like and follow and unfollow. I generally don't do comments because I think it's really spammy. But you want to do that for all of your competitors because basically what you're doing is you're going around to think of it as everybody that's in your competitor's store. If you're trying to compete with Starbucks, you're basically walking into the Starbucks and handing every person in Starbucks a flyer about your business. Now, that might not get you a lot of people, but if you do it at 100 or 1,000 people a day or a week, you're going to get customers. So you do that to all of your competitors. Now, inside of Inselects, there are limits. Let's see if we can pull it up. Inside of Inselects, there are limits that are basically set to have you figure out like a pace, a speed for things, and when you're going to follow and unfollow. So with that being said, let's look at my personal limits. So I have a very, very mature account, but let's see right here. Can we do this? Does this work? Okay. So in here, I've got activity speed fast. Now you can run yours as slow. Now I've got follows and likes, all these things. I minimum do 2 likes, maximum do 3. I don't want to spam somebody entirely, but I want to make sure that they see me. 1 probably isn't enough. Now, that's for the actions piece. Now, we can also do, oh man, this is weird backwards. Limits. Okay. So this is only change limits if you're absolutely sure. Now, I've set mine to the max setting. I would suggest when you start off, set yours to the minimum setting. Right? But these are my settings for my band. Okay? If you set them to the max, odds are you're going to get flagged. Also, this is for me, there's the following and unfollowing function. Here's my unfollowing settings. So me, as somebody with 57,000 followers, these are a bit higher probably than most people. But what I'm saying is, when I hit 1,900 people, unfollow 1,800 because I have about 100 accounts in there that I want to keep no matter what. Also, I want to make sure that I'm following somebody for at least a minimum of a day. Now, while I'm unfollowing, I want to like and comment and view stories of accounts. Now here's some accounts that are whitelisted that I won't unfollow, which is really fucking old, actually. I should probably update that. But anyway, so that's the best way of using the tool. And if that's not helpful for you, Sarah, Sarah that asked that question, right? Ah, shit, I opened up the damn feed again. I'm trying to find the actual original comment. If that's not helpful and you need a bit more, let me know. And maybe what we can do is a live setup. So if you're watching this, Sarah, and you need some more help, maybe we can do is a shared live where we pull up your InstaLex, if you're willing to, and we show people how to set it up. Top to bottom, best practice. That might be really valuable. If you see this, Sarah, and you want to do it, you let me know, and we'll try to make it work. I believe that's all the questions for this week. Checking the comments section over here. Yep, no new ones. So I'm going to call it. We're done. This is a 2-hour session. It was phenomenal. I hope this was really valuable for everybody. If not, I don't know why you're still here after 2 hours. But anyway, please like and comment and share, on anything that you need to in this group. Please, I really would love it if you guys ask more questions during the week. And not just for the live feeds, but for other things too. Just, bring in I want to really get the engagement up in the group with all of you diehards. Share your case studies, share your big questions, share your wins, share your losses. And again, the homework for this week and for last week was do anything from the e-com startup, the 6 best practices. Set any of them up and you get it for free. And you'll get the ebook for free or 50% off the Slack or the Patreon or a one-on-one call. The one provisos to that is not setting up the Facebook retargeting, because hopefully you already have it. But setting up any of the best practices there. No, fuck it. If you do that thing, I'll still give you 50% off. If you're not in it already, let me know. Why not? You guys are still here. Most people won't listen to it. Most people won't make it 2 hours in. But if all you have to do is send me proof that you've done any of those 6 things, or any of the homework, and you get any ebook you want for free, half off the Slack, half off the Patreon, or half off a one-on-one call. Let me help you succeed. I really want to make that happen for you guys. So it's 4th of July week. Next weekend's going to be a monster. I'm actually skydiving on Friday, and then I have a huge music festival on Saturday. So Sunday I'm going to be rough, but we're going to kill it. And hopefully on Sunday, we're going to go over the ebook for the 6 pieces, and then we'll launch into the next month. And if you like these mailbag shows to be this dedicated to all your questions, maybe we can do that at least once a month. Like the end of the month is just hardcore answering everything and theming things out. Other than that, love you guys. Thank you very much. Invite your friends. Tell your neighbors. Go make some money. I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.